Good afternoon. Welcome back. One second, I will share my screen. Okay. Sir. Am I audible? Okay, today's quote. If you are humble, nothing will touch you, either praise, neither disagree, disgrace, because you know what you are. So, be humble ever, never be adamant, so that we can praise ourselves, we can praise our parents. But of course, we will be praising. Okay, and we should know what we are. We should realize what we are. Is possible only when we are humble. Okay. So today's lecture deals with sources of bioelectric potentials, where exactly the potentials are being generated in the living organism, maybe human being or animals, any living organism. What is the source where bioelectric potentials are being generated? That is the concept. So we shall try to understand what is happening inside the body, which the potentials are being generated. So these are the basic elements of any living organism, because of which there is a possibility of potential generated in the living organism. As we all know from our schooling, biological sciences, cells together form tissues, tissues together form organs, organs together form organ systems. So cells and tissues are the basic elements of a living organism. Okay, so then what is bioelectric potential? Bioelectric potentials are actually ionic voltages produced as a result of electrochemical activity of certain special types of cells. Okay, so cells uh, are constituted of some charges, potassium, sodium, and chloride ions, charges. So because of these charges, electrochemical activity takes place. As a result, potentials are being generated. Okay, so this action is done to cells. And these bioelectric potentials convey useful information about the functions of organs of the body. For example, ECG conveys the functioning of the heart, EEG conveys the functioning of the brain, EMG conveys the functioning of the muscles, etc. Every potential has its own information, which conveys useful information about the functioning of the organs of the body. Bioelectric potentials are associated with nerve conduction. It could be potential generated through the nerve cells. It could be brain cells. It could be heart cells, or it could be muscle cells, and so on. Okay. So respective cells of the organs would be able to generate the potentials, which convey useful information of that particular organs. These bioelectric potentials can be measured as electric signals. Okay, so by the help of transducers, we will be able to convert the bioelectric potentials into useful information probably the electrical output, electric signals. It could be either voltage or current. And results can be displayed in a meaningful way to aid the physician in the diagnosis and the treatment of various diseases. So, which helps these bioelectric potentials help the physicians or doctors in order to diagnose a particular disease of a cell, I mean, an organ, maybe heart or brain, etc. Actually, this idea of generating electricity, electrical potential, electrical voltage or current from the living organism has started in the year 1786. Okay, as far as 1786 by Italian anatomy professor Luigi Galvani. Galvani had started his research in finding out electrical output, electric potential from the living organism. He could able to find out electrical voltage or current as form of bioelectric potential through frog's leg, muzzle of a frog's leg. And there was no much rapid invention or research from 1786 to 1903. Okay, there was a large gap. Okay, so around 1903, Dutch physician Willem Einthoven introduced the string galvanometer. As I said in the previous lecture, Willem Einthoven, was the father of ECG. He could able to identify bioelectric potentials from the heart. So in order to measure any sort of bioelectric potential, maybe from the heart or from the brain or any kind of organ, he could able to develop this meter, the device, string galvanometer, which will be able to measure or record bioelectric potentials. So potentials are of two types, bioelectric potentials, resting potential and action potential. So let us try to realize the difference of resting and action potential. Okay. So usually the cells, as I rightly mentioned, are constituted of three ions: sodium, positively charged ions; potassium, positively charged ions; and chloride, negatively charged ions. Okay. So charge balance is being maintained. Okay. So such a state is nothing but equilibrium state. So equilibrium is reached with a potential difference across the cell membrane. Usually cell looks like a circle with a membrane, semi-permeable membrane. Okay. So when the charge inside the cell and outside the cell are equal, equilibrium is reached. Okay. So when there is an equilibrium with respect to the charges, in other words, potential difference, okay, the membrane potential in such a condition, in such a state, is nothing but resting potential of the cell. Okay. So typically, the resting potential range from -60 to 100 millivolts. Researchers could be able to investigate that it varies from -60 to 100 millivolts. Typically, the typical value of resting potential is found to be -70 millivolts. That would be seen in the next slide. Okay. You may ask one question, sir, why is it -70 millivolts? It is due to the fact that since the measurement of the membrane potential is generally made, please underline this line, very important line. Since the measurement of membrane potential is generally made from inside the cell, active electrode is usually kept inside the cell, passive electrode or reference electrode would be kept outside the cell. So therefore, since active electrode is connected to the negative charge, obviously the output will be negative volts. So due to this fact, resting potential is found to be minus 70 millivolts. Okay, so this slide speaks the same story. The same charges, positive sodium ions, positive potassium, and negatively charged chloride ions. Okay, so the membrane of excitable cell in the resting state, that is the condition. So in the excited state of the cell, when the cell gets excited, what happens? The membrane of excitable cells readily permits entry of potassium and chloride ions, but effectively blocks the entry of sodium ions. So see here, okay. So the inability of sodium ions to penetrate, sodium ions exists outside the membrane, whereas potassium and chloride ions, these two ions exist inside the cell. So when the cell gets excited, what happens? The sodium ions are unable to get penetrated into the cell through the permeable membrane due to two reasons. First one, the concentration of sodium ions inside the cell becomes much lower than in the intracellular fluid outside. Sodium ions, very less amount of sodium ions are present inside the cell. Huge number of sodium ions are present outside the cell. So due to lesser concentration of sodium ions inside the cell, okay, sodium ions are positive. This would tend to make the outside of the cell more positive than the inside. Okay. So when the cell gets excited, what happens? The concentration of the sodium ions are much more greater than that of the sodium ions present inside the cell. Okay. And in an attempt to balance the electric charge, additional potassium ions, which are also positive, enter the cell, causing a high concentration of potassium on the inside than the outside. So high concentration of potassium ions exist inside the cell than outside the cell. So therefore, as a result, there is a charge balance. Okay, charge imbalance. Therefore, charge balance cannot be achieved. So it is called as charge imbalance. However, because of concentration of imbalance of potassium ions, equilibrium is reached with a potential difference across the membrane, negative on the inside and positive on the outside. So potassium, though negative ions could not able to penetrate from outside to the inside, potassium ions would be able to make the cell balanced. Okay. So this membrane potential is called resting potential. When the charge balance exists, the potential occurred in the cell is nothing but resting potential in the equilibrium condition. That is what you must realize. Okay, since measurement of membrane potential is generally made from inside, this is already repeated story. So research investigators have reported measuring membrane potentials in various cells ranging from minus 60 to minus 100 millivolts. The cell in the resting state is said to be polarized cell. So in the resting state, the cell is said to be polarized. Okay. And the potential exists in the resting cell is nothing but resting potential. So this is what you can see, how the resting potential is measured to be negative voltage. Since, so this is the active electrode which is kept inside the cell, as it is negatively charged. Therefore, the polarity of the resting potential is found to be negative. Okay, reference electrode, the ground electrode is positive. So the net result is an avalanche effect in which sodium ions literally rush into the cell to try to reach a balance with the ionic ions outside. At the same time, potassium ions, which were in higher concentration inside the cell during the resting state, try to leave the cell but are unable to move as rapidly as the sodium ions. As a result, the cell has slightly positive potential on inside due to the imbalance of potassium ions. Okay, so there is an imbalance of potassium ions and the equilibrium condition is not reached. Okay, it is disturbed. Hence, therefore, there is an imbalance of charge which results potential, slightly positive potential called as action potential. This potential is known as action potential and is approximately the typical value of action potential is plus 20 millivolts. However, both are in terms of millivolts only. Resting potential and action potential, they are having very low amplitudes. Okay, in fact, all biomedical signals are very low in amplitude and in fact frequency. Okay, low signals. Action potential. What is action potential? How does it generate? How does it occur? Let us see. When a section of the cell membrane is excited by the flow of ionic current, any kind of external stimuli, as we have seen through Mann instrument system. Okay, when it is getting excited, what happens? The membrane changes its characteristics. The characteristics of the permeable membrane, semi-permeable membrane of the cell changes. As a result, the cell has a slightly positive potential called as action potential. A cell that has been excited and that displays an action potential is said to be depolarized. I repeat, the cell in equilibrium state which exhibits resting potential is said to be polarized cell. Okay, whereas cell which exhibits action potential is said to be depolarized cell. Please note these 2 points, important points. Depolarized cell exhibits action potential. Polarized cell exhibits resting potential. Okay. So the process of changing from resting state to the action potential is called depolarization. Right? So the net result is an I think this is being repeated. This is how depolarization takes place. Sodium ions are rushed into the semi-permeable membrane, are being penetrated through semi-permeable membrane into the cell. Okay, so therefore depolarization occurs by this process. The positive charge would become more inside the cell than the outside of the cell. Okay, under this condition, depolarization state. So this is positive. Why is it action potential positive? Since the charge inside the cell is positive, as the measuring electrode is connected to positively charged, inside of the cell, the potential is found to be positive. Unlike resting potential, in the case of resting potential, it is negative. Hence, resting potential is found to be minus 70 millivolt, whereas action potential is slightly positive potential, that is typically plus 20 millivolts. So once the rush of sodium ions through the cell membrane has stopped, depolarization is going to be stopped. Rush of sodium ions through membrane has stopped means depolarization is being stopped. The ionic currents that lowered the barrier to sodium ions are no longer present. Membrane reverts back. Membrane is going to come back from depolarization state to the polarization state. Okay. So, by an active process called sodium pumping, the sodium ions are quickly transported to the outside of the cell. Sodium ions on their own cannot come back to the original position, initial position. To do so, to make it happen, some process is required, pumping is required, called as sodium pumping, in order to bring back sodium ions inside the cell to the outside of the cell. Okay, this process is required, called as sodium pumping. Therefore, this process, the sodium pumping, is nothing but repolarization, means converting, changing from depolarization to the polarization is nothing but repolarization, original position. Okay, that means, in other words, action potential to again the resting potential is nothing but repolarization. Repolarization brings action potential state to the resting potential state. The rate of pumping is directly proportional to this sodium concentration in the cell. Okay. You can see here action potential. How does the action potential increase? I mean, from resting potential to the higher value and then comes back to the original position. You can see here resting potential, as we all know, is typically minus 70 millivolts, the equilibrium condition. Okay, and the depolarization takes place, and we have action potential whose typical value is plus 20 millivolt, and then repolarization. Okay, action potential to the resting potential state is nothing but repolarization state, and these are nothing but after potentials. Once it came back to the original position, we would have some little bit voltage potentials, a little negative voltages called as after potentials. The above figure, 10 minutes. Above figure shows a typical action potential waveform beginning at the resting potential, depolarization, and returning to the repolarization. Okay, and you please note that the time scale, the potential remains same for every kind of cell, maybe heart or brain or whatever the organ is. The resting potential, action potentials take the same values. However, time scale would be different from organ to organ. Okay, every one of you realize time scale is different. The time scale for the action potential depends upon the type of the cell producing the potential. Okay, heart cells produce some sort of time scale, time intervals. Brain cell may have some sort of time intervals. They may vary. Okay, they are not constant. They do not remain same like potentials. In nerve and muscle cells, repolarization occurs so rapidly following depolarization. Okay, so repolarization, it differs. The time scale changes from the process of depolarization to the repolarization. In some cells, it may take place here only. Therefore, time differs. Time will differ. Sometimes, I mean, in some cells, it may take longer time. Therefore, time scale will be longer. So that is how from cells to cells, different cells to cells, it will vary. Time scale will get vary. However, this remains same. Okay, potentials remain same. And it appears to be 1 millisecond in the case of muscle cells. Okay, it takes just 1 millisecond from repolarization to the depolarization. Whereas the heart muscles, the action potential for heart muscle usually lasting from 150 to 300 milliseconds. Okay, in the muscle cells, it will happen so rapidly, whereas in the case of heart muscles, nerve muscles, it will happen rapidly, but in the case of heart muscles, it lasts from 150 to 300 milliseconds. It is a bit longer than nerve muscles, nerves and muscle cells. Okay. Regardless, I'm going to conclude within 2 minutes. Regardless of method by which a cell is excited or the intensity of the stimulus, the action potential is always the same for any given cell. As I rightly mentioned, regardless of method of stimulation, maybe audible, maybe tactile stimulus, maybe electrical stimulus, whatever may be the stimulus, irrespective of the stimulus, the action potential remains same for any given cell, maybe for nerve cell, heart cell, whatnot, etc. So this law, this is known as all or nothing law. All or nothing law. Okay? All or nothing law states that regardless of the method of stimulation, the action potential remains same for any given cell. And the net height of the action potential is defined as the difference between the potential of the depolarized membrane at the peak of the action potential and the resting potential. Net height, you can see here, this is the net height. Okay, so the difference between this peak to the resting potential gives rise the net height of the action potential. Okay. So following the generation of an action potential, there is a brief period of time during which the cell cannot respond to any new stimulus. Okay, so if you following the action potential, so during this time interval, if you tend to stimulate the cell, it won't respond. During this time interval, it won't respond to any other stimulus. Okay, so such a time period is nothing but absolute refractory period. Okay, after potentials. So relative refractory period. 1 second. Cannot respond to any stimulus. So this period is called absolute refractory period, as I rightly mentioned. Absolute refractory period is the time interval during which the cell cannot respond to any more stimulus. Okay, and it is typically 1 millisecond in the nerve cells. And following the absolute refractory period, there occurs another refractory period called as relative refractory period. What is this period? During which another action potential can be triggered. After refractory period, there exists another period called as relative refractory period, during which it can respond. The cell would respond. Okay, can be triggered, but a much stronger stimulus is required during relative refractory period in order to make the cell respond to another stimulus. Much stronger stimulation is required. Okay? In nerve cells, the relative refractory period lasts several milliseconds. Okay? It takes several milliseconds. Relative refractory period takes several milliseconds in the case of nerve cells. These refractory periods are believed to be the result of after potentials. You can see, as I said, after potentials are due to the relative refractory periods, are due to the another stimulus. Okay. Next slide. I think 2 more slides, just 2 minutes. Propagation of action potential. When a cell is excited and generates an action potential, ionic currents begin to flow. Generation of action potential leads to ionic currents. Ionic currents begin to flow through the nerves. Okay, because of the action potential. This process can in turn excite neighboring cells. It will excite the neighboring cells. The ionic current which is being generated because of the resulting action potential would be able to excite the neighboring cells. Okay, would be able to trigger the neighboring cells or adjacent areas of the same cell. Okay. In the case of a nerve cell with a long fiber, the action potential is generated over a very small segment of the fiber's length, but is propagated in both directions from the original point of excitation. Okay, in the case of nerve cells, this propagation takes place in both the directions. Action potential would propagate in both the directions from the original point of excitation. In nature, nerve cells are excited only near their input end. As the action potential travels down the fiber downstream from the point of excitation to the subsequent to the adjacent cells is nothing but downstream, travels down the fiber. It cannot re-excite the portion of the fiber immediately upstream because of the refractory period that follows the action potential. Because of time lag, some period during which cell cannot be triggered by any other stimulus, it cannot propagate to the upstream immediately. It takes some time. It is due to the fact that there is a period, refractory period, during which time it won't respond. Cell won't respond. Okay, next slide. I think last slide. The rate at which an action potential moves down a fiber or is propagated from cell to cell is called the propagation time. Okay, the rate time interval during which the action potential propagates from cell to cell is nothing but propagation rate. In nerve fibers, the propagation rate is also called the nerve conduction rate or conduction velocity. Okay, the propagation rate or propagation velocity through the nerve fibers or nerve cells is nothing but nerve conduction rate or nerve conduction velocity, which is a vital parameter in order to diagnose the muscular activity. Okay, nerve conduction rate is a vital parameter in order to diagnose the functioning of the muscles, especially paralyzed people. Okay, high nerve conduction velocity is always desired. Optimum nerve conduction rate or nerve conduction velocity is always desired, is ever desired. This velocity varies widely depending on the type and diameter of the nerve fiber. Okay, it varies with respect to the type and diameter of the fiber. The usual velocity range in nerves is typical value of this nerve conduction velocity is found to be 20 to 140 meters per second. For every second, it propagates around 20 to 140 meters. Action potential propagates from 20 to 140 meters. Propagation through heart muscle is slower with an average rate from 0.2 to 0.4. It is very low, especially in the case of heart muscles. But in the nerves, it is faster. It is far higher value compared to heart muscles. Special time delay fibers between atria and ventricles. Atria, ventricles, these are the parts of the heart that would be discussed in the due lectures of the heart cause action potentials to propagate at an even slower rate. Even slower rates are mere possible in the case of heart muscles due to atria and ventricles. Okay, so that is typically from 0.03 to 0.05 meters per second. That is how the propagation rate varies from organ to organ with respect to the type and diameter of the fibers, nerve fibers. Okay, so that's all for today's class. See you back in the next lecture, probably tomorrow. Thank you.